I'm Lane Lindstrom. I'm the editor of Dirt Toys Magazine. I'm here with Camas from Honda. Camas, what's your full name and what's your title there at Honda?
My name is Camas Reed, and I am the Engineering Test Project Manager.
What is an engineering what was that again?
That's a lot, right?
That is a lot.
So I'm responsible for coordinating all of the testing and validation for the Talon.
Okay, so we are riding two Talons, one yesterday, one today. We rode the X yesterday, the R today. What's the difference between the two?
So when we decided we wanted to enter the sports market, we studied our customer and we found that they have different needs depending on the type of terrain that they like to ride in. And so if you make one vehicle that doesn't really perform well in any terrain, and what we tried to do instead was create one platform with two different chassis that performed really well in specific types of terrain.
So what are some of the differences between the two then?
Well, the S2R is 5 inches wider, 5 inches longer, and it has 5 inches more suspension stroke than the S2X. The S2X is focused on maneuverability for trails, and the R is focused on high-speed stability and tracking for more open terrain.
So like for today, we're at, where are we again?
Sand Hollow.
Sand Hollow. Today we're at Sand Hollow and we're riding the R. We went through a lot of whoops. We did some rock climbing. That's what it's aimed at, you're saying?
Yes, yep. The best thing that the S2R does is has amazing stability, and it gets right up on top of the whoops, and you can just float right across the top. It doesn't matter, slow speed, high speed, it soaks it all up.
I can verify what she just said because we were flying through the whoops today, and it just stayed on top. It was so smooth. We did some rock climbing as well, a little bit of rock crawling. It was pretty versatile. Yesterday on the trail, it was pretty tight in a lot of places between the trees. It seemed to perform very well. So is there a different customer you're aiming at for those different vehicles, or?
Slightly different. What we wanted was the vehicles to be excellent in the specific terrain, but then really good also in the opposite terrain. So if you take the S2X out to the desert, it'll still be a really good machine, but it was designed more for tight trails.
What we did yesterday.
What we did yesterday. And the R is designed for being, at home in open, high-speed terrain, but if you take it over to the woods, you're going to enjoy it there too. So they're meant to be excellent in what they were designed for, but then also really good in the opposite type of terrain.
Okay, so if I were to force you to pick your favorite 5 features of the Talon, go.
DCT is one. The suspension, I like the quick switch 3s that the suspension has. That's really nice because then you're not trying to remember how many clicks did I have, and you don't lose track of it. So I like that. I like the roof. We're one of the few manufacturers that have the OEM roof.
Right.
I like the T-handle because I'm short. And every time I get in, I'm always adjusting that T-handle back.
Which she did today when we came over here. She had to adjust it.
Yep. And I don't have to search or hunt for the pin. I can just adjust it on the fly and pull it all the way straight back. And so the T-handle is another one of my favorites, and then the paddles, because you can override the DCT if you want more engine braking.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about Honda's DCT, because you are unique in that your side-by-sides and ATVs have that feature.
Yeah. So the engine in the DCT is based off the Pioneer 1000, but we basically applied more power. And then we also made a few other tweaks to the motor to be able to use it in this application. But it's the same DCT that's in the Pioneer 1000.
Okay, so you just said the motor. What do we got underneath the hood here? Actually, it's not underneath the hood. It's more in the center of it. But yes, what do you have under?
In terms of the power output?
Yep.
So it's 103 horse at the crank.
Okay. And it's the same engine as the Pioneer 1000?
It's the same base engine, but it's not exactly the same.
What's different?
The throttle body size is different. That's bigger, so we could pack more air in. What else is different? The gear ratios are the same in the engine. The final drive ratio is different. Okay. We wanted it to be a little bit lower. And then, I'm trying to remember what else.
You had to do some different mapping, I guess.
Totally different shift maps for the DCT. They're not the same at all. So we do have the sport and the normal mode. Those are completely tuned differently.
Okay, so you just said sport as well. What's the difference when I'm in sport, what's it doing to the engine or the DCT or both?
So the Sport is obviously designed for if you're going faster, and so what'll do is it'll hang on to the gear longer and higher into the RPM. It'll take it closer to the rev limit before it shifts. Whereas if you're just kind of cruising around, you may not want the RPM quite so high, and so then you'll drop it down. Excuse me.
So is that rabbit gonna get us? That rabbit was attacking us a second ago. So what? It's pretty sporty looking. You modeled it after one of the bikes?
Yeah, they styled it after the CRF. So it was our first sport side-by-side, so they kind of went back to the Honda heritage and they looked at the CRFs and they took their styling cues from the CRF.
So if I had a whole bunch of sport side-by-sides in front of me, competitors, what would be the reason I would look at the Honda Talon over the rest of them?
First thing first would be the DCT.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why? Why is that?
Well,
why is that better than the CVT?
Well, it's more direct connected, so you feel the power immediately because you have the benefit of gears. You don't have to wait for the rubber band to spin up, and then you don't have to deal with it breaking either, which is always a nightmare.
So when we were out today riding, and we went up to the top of the world, I think there were a few pieces of belt up there, and
That's true.
someone said, "Oh yeah, you won't see that with the Talon."
Nope.
So what? Tell me a little bit about the tires.
The tires are 28-inch Maxxis tires. What else were you looking for?
Well, the rims are how big?
15.
15, 28-inch tires, 15-inch rims. How many ply? 6 ply?
Yeah, should be 6.
Okay. I think the thing that I like about the Talon, I can't narrow it down to 5 like Camas did, but is the DCT for sure, but how it tracks straight. We didn't really talk about how it stays flat in those whoops and on the trail yesterday.
Yeah, we forgot to talk about the 4 Plus link.
Okay, yeah.
The 4 Plus link is why you feel that good tracking. What it does is it controls the toe change through the stroke to less than 0.3 degrees. So that allows you, no matter where you are in the stroke, to have extremely good stability.
Yeah. So there's lots of things to like about it. I think the ride, the looks, the feel, the ergonomics in the cockpit, just a lot of things that I think the Talon's going to turn heads, not just for Honda owners who have been waiting a long time for a sport vehicle, but also for those who might be looking for a change, for quality, reliability, things like that. The Talon might be a good thing to look at.